Welcome everyone, I'm Vi, I'm e-commerce marketing expert at Omnisend. And what if I told you that you've got 7 hidden gems in your contact list? 7 segments that could make your emails more effective and more profitable. Because email campaigns aren't just about sending or blasting your email list, it's about sending the right message to the right people at the right time. And that is exactly the topic of today's webinar. And I'm very excited to introduce Sadie, who is our Senior Customer Success Manager. And she's been at Omnisend for over 5 years now. So she has seen it all, and she's bringing the good stuff today. So Sadie, would you like to say hello?
Yeah, hey guys. Super happy to be here. Super excited to kind of take you guys through some segmentation. Like Vi said, I've been with Omnisend for a little over 5 years now, so I've seen hundreds of different clients. I don't want to say that I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot. I'm still waiting to be surprised. But yeah, super excited to talk to you guys today. Feel free to ask questions if you have any, and I hope that you guys are you come away from this webinar learning something. But yeah.
Fantastic. I'm so excited for you guys. And before we begin, just a couple of things to know. You will receive the recording in a couple of days via email. We will include the slides as well, so you won't miss out on anything. And if you have any questions, you can pop them in the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screen. We have customer support people on today, so they'll be answering the questions as they go, or we might pick up some questions at the end that are specifically addressed to Sadie as well. So I'll stop sharing the slides. And Sadie, the stage is yours.
All right, guys. So today we're going to go over the importance of segmentation. I'm going to show you a segment overview. I'm going to share some common tips and mistakes to avoid, plus some additional tips in there. And then obviously at the end, we'll have a Q&A. All right, so some things that you're going to learn. Obviously, what those 7 core segments are and why they matter, how to actually build them within Omnisend and apply them in a matter of minutes, and then different ways to use them across campaigns and automations. Perfect. Okay, so why are we even here? Why does segmentation even matter? So let's dive into the importance of segmentation. Segmentation helps businesses like yours send targeted messages to achieve better engagement, better loyalty, and better retention. Omnisend segmentation solution is continuously improving with new filters and data points that allow you to optimize your marketing efforts. So what are some of those important aspects? Number one is higher engagement. And typically, when you have higher engagement, you have better deliverability. That means more emails are actually being sent in the inbox and less in the spam folder. You're also going to have less unsubscribers because this is a little bit more personalized to this specific audience. You'll see that your unsubscribe rate is much smaller. You also have more personalized experience. And I think in today's time, you have to have that personalized experience with an email for people to actually enjoy receiving your email campaigns. And then last but not least, higher return on investment. If you're sending to a more engaged contact list, then you're going to see that higher return on investment with Omnisend. All right, so let's go into some key principles of effective segmentation. In order to build smarter, more scalable segments, you need to understand the foundation of segmentation. You need to know what data sources you have access to, how to match those to your customer's lifecycle, but you also need to think contextually. Segmentation is not a one-size-fits-all solution. All the segments that I provide today should be looked at in terms of your specific audience. Again, they're going to be really great examples. They are the core segments that you should already have. But again, you want to make sure that you are keeping your audience in mind. All right. So thinking of effective segmentation, we need to understand what you can actually segment within Omnisend. So there are different data sources in Omnisend segmentation. The first one is your subscription data. This one's pretty obvious. This is going to be whether the email, SMS, web push notifications are subscribed, non-subscribed, or unsubscribed. The simplest one. You also have behavioral data. So these are people opening messages, clicking messages, viewing specific pages on your website, adding items to their cart, and so on. You also have transactional data. So these are placed order, canceled order, and so on. And then you also have access to demographic and preference data. So things like state, country, gender, if you're accessing that. And then you also have your custom properties if applicable. All right. So whenever we're talking about segmentation, again, you need to understand your customer specific journey. And while most all have the same structure as far as the customer journey goes, seen here, you should also keep this in mind whenever you're segmenting. Segmentation should always align with your customer journey. Perfect. All right, so now we're getting to the good stuff. So let's go over a quick overview of the key segments that I'm going to be talking about today. All right, first we have the most important, in my view. You have your engaged audience, and I'm going to look at 30, 60, and 90 days. I think you should have all three of these segments within your account. What this does is it helps identify recent openers and clickers. It's very simple. Then we have hyper engaged. These contacts are going to be your most active subscribers. Then we'll go over purchasers and non-purchasers. Again, these are great to convert browsers or to upsell previous purchasers. Then you have high lifetime value. Uh, you can use these to reward VIPs and increase lifetime value. We have unengaged subscribers. This one's pretty easy. This one is just to maintain that clean list. You also have lapsed customers. So these are really great to reactivate churn customers. And then last but not least, we are going to go over recent purchasers. So these are really great to exclude whenever you're sending campaigns. All right, so that's the overview of those segments. So let's do a deep dive into each of these. All right, so first and foremost, we have our engaged audience. Now, I'm going to go over each segment, how to build these, when you want to utilize them, and why you want to utilize them in the first place. All right, so again, I think this is one of the most important segments to have within your account. And of course, keep in mind your customer journey. All of these filters that I use in here can be adjusted based on your specific audience. So how are we going to build this one? I like to add the subscription status in most of my segments. So adding that subscription status is subscribed to email. Can you use these across different channels? Absolutely. Just make sure that you are defining those. So I've also included that they've opened a message at least 3 times in the past 60 days. One thing that you also want to make sure that you are adding in this segment is the message channel, especially if you're using multiple channels within Omnisend, like SMS and web push notifications. Open message would refer to all of those channels. So again, if you're sending multiple or using multiple channels to communicate with your audience, make sure that you are defining that the message channel is email when they have opened. And I also want to make sure that they've clicked on a message at least one time in the last 60 days. So again, this is pretty strict, but these people will truly be engaged, and you're going to see that higher engagement whenever you send a campaign to this specific audience. So yeah, again, make sure that you're including your subscription status. You are adding open and click data. You are defining the message channel. Again, this is really important whenever you're creating this segment. And then also you can exclude Apple privacy opens. Do you have to do this? No, but I think it's an interesting piece to add, especially because we know that Apple is opening all of those messages in the back end whenever your subscriber has that Apple privacy settings enabled. So if you want to exclude these, absolutely go for it. But we truly do not know who is opening and who is not opening those emails. So I don't typically add this, but again, this is an optional addition. All right. When do you want to use this segment or these segments? I always recommend that you use these segments 80% of the time whenever you're sending campaigns. What about all the other contacts that are not engaged? I think about 20% of the time you can include those whenever you are sending to your audience. But as far as deliverability best practices go, you want to make sure that most of the time you are sending to your engaged list. All right. And why do we want to send to these engaged contacts? Obviously, they may help you maintain great deliverability. And if you have great deliverability, that means less emails are ending up in the spam folder, which means that more contacts are actually seeing and engaging with your email, which means that you have more revenue, which means higher revenue per email sent. So again, that really ties into that higher return on investment with Omnisend. All right, next segment is that hyper engaged segment. These contacts are very engaged with your list. So how are we going to build these? Again, you want to include that subscription status. We want to make sure that they're actually subscribed to email. We want to see that they have opened a message at least 5 times in the last 30 days. And you could even be more strict on this. You could do 14 days. Again, you want to define that message channel. You also want to include click data. So seeing that they've clicked at least 3 times in the last 30 days. Again, you could be more strict on this. You could be a little bit more broad depending on what you're selling. But again, you want to make sure that you define that message channel. All right, so similar to the engaged segments we created, but we're including more frequency of engagement in a shorter period of time. All right, so when do you want to use these? I actually really like to utilize these when you're looking to A/B test different subject lines, contents, call to actions, or when you want really quick results. So why are we sending to this list? You want to think of these subscribers like they're the front row at your first concert. They're showing up really early. They are really excited about what you're about to share, and they're ready to see exactly what you have to share. So you want to treat them like VIPs, and I promise they will deliver. They really boost your deliverability if you're in a low engagement season. So especially if you're seasonal, let's say you sell Christmas trees or you sell summer bathing suits. During those low periods of time, you can utilize this hyper engaged list to boost your deliverability and keep it high. All right. Next, we have our purchasers and non-purchasers. So how are we going to build this segment? This one is super simple. You just need to add whether or not they've placed an order. And then optionally, you can add a time frame like I have in this screenshot. So placed an order in the last 6 months. But let's say that you are a furniture store and you don't typically see your returning customers come back every 6 months. Maybe it's once a year, something along those lines. You would obviously want to broaden that frequency. But again, this is a really great segment to have. So when are you actually going to want to send to this list? Let me actually go to the next slide, sorry. This, for your purchasers, this is a really great strategy to have, but thank yous go a really, really long way. Sending that replenishment reminder is another good strategy to have for these purchasers. Any sort of cross-sell workflow would be really great. And then whenever it comes to non-purchasers, these are really great to utilize while splitting in automations, especially like things like abandoned cart. That way you can send the non-purchasers more educational content if they have never purchased before. Maybe you need to nurture them a little bit more to make that initial purchase. And maybe they're more discount driven and you want to give them that offer that it's more conversion focused. All right. So why do we want to send to these segments? Purchasers have already trusted your brand once, but now you have to increase their lifetime value with repeat purchasers and cross sells. Referrals, actually, if you sell one-time products or low frequency products, it's really great to get referrals from those purchasers. Then for the non-purchaser segment, they really, again, need to build that trust to end up purchasing your product. So what you can do is focus on more educational based content to try and get them to gain that trust to make that first purchase. You can definitely utilize testimonials and UGC to convert, and if needed, carefully timed incentives. Um, but yeah, that's purchasers and non-purchasers. Next, we have high lifetime value customers. How do you want to build this? So typically you will want to use the placed order filter. So you want to say that they've placed an order, let's say at least 3 times. In total, you can also add a frequency here, so or a time restriction here, just in case you want to exclude people who purchased 3 years ago. But then you can also add total spend and customize this based on your average order value. It's optional to have the placed order over a certain number of times, and then two, if you want to exclude wholesale customers from this high lifetime value, I know a lot of my clients have wholesale customers, and they are typically tagging them within Omnisend or tagging them within Shopify or whatever their e-commerce platform is, and Omnisend will communicate with that. So you can add the exclusion of tag is not wholesale. All right. Let me see here. Sorry about that. So when do you want to utilize this segment? You really want to reward, use exclusive perks, early access promotions, private sales. And this is another really great segment to A/B test with subject lines, content, call to actions, again, because these are your most valuable customers. So why do we want to send to this list? This is your most profitable audience. We sometimes focus way too much on lapsed customers or those customers who maybe bought one time and never purchased again. I find that a lot of my clients are very focused on that, and they forget about their VIP customers. So another why is we want to increase retention with these customers. We want to reduce churn of our most profitable customers, and we can even improve their lifetime value further with personalized upsell paths. So again, these are your most profitable customers. That personalization piece, like including their name in the email, including past purchases in that email, that's really going to target this audience and make them feel like they truly are a VIP customer of yours. All right, next we have one of my favorites, but one of my clients' least favorites, and that is that unengaged subscriber list. So how are we going to build this segment in Omnisend? There's a couple of different ways that you could build this unengaged subscriber list, but obviously you want to make sure that you add that subscription status as subscribed to email. And I personally like to use messages sent filter to exclude recent purchasers. So I like to say that they've been sent at least 15 emails. I typically like to do like a 3-month range. Again, do this based on your specific customer. But let's say that we send 2 emails a week. That would probably give us what, 8 emails a month and then times 3. Anyways, basically give yourself about a 3-month time range. So again, this is going to help exclude recent subscribers. Then you want to add in that activity of not opening a message at least 3 times in the last 3 months and haven't clicked a message at least 1 time in the last 3 months. Again, you want to define that message channel here, especially if you're sending multiple channels through Omnisend. All right, so when do you want to use this segment? I like to use the segment to trigger sunset workflows. We know that the typical email goes bad. I think it's one third of all emails go bad every year, which is such a wild uh, statistic, knowing that I've literally had the same exact email address since I was probably 14. But you have to consider that whenever you are looking at your whole entire list. So I like to trigger sunset workflows. If they've met the parameters of these specific filters, let me see if I can send them an automated message that says, do you even still want to be subscribed? If so, great. And then I actually add a delay after that email to say, I give them 7 days to engage with this email. If they don't engage with this email, I'll tag them and just routinely unsubscribe them from my list. But then you also want to exclude these from receiving your regular email campaigns. So we talked about the engaged list. Some of my clients actually utilize the unengaged subscriber list to exclude versus sending only to the engaged list. You have options here. So why do you want to have this segment in your account? This keeps your list clean of uninterested and unengaged contacts. This again improves your overall email deliverability, which actually reduces your overall cost with Omnisend. You don't want to be paying for contacts that are not engaged with your emails. It's a waste of your time and a waste of your money. All right. Next, we have lapsed customers. So how do we want to build this segment? We want to make sure that they have placed an order at least one time, but haven't placed an order in a specific time frame. So this ensures that they are truly lapsed and not a non-purchaser. That's why you want to have both of those filters in there. When do we want to actually use this segment? This is great for win-back automation series, and this is also really, really great to test different reactivation offers. So use those A/B splits and automations to try and reactivate those customers with different offers. This really will help you understand what gets your customer to come back. And this is, again, just a really great opportunity to help you understand what your specific audience really wants from you. All right. Why do we want to send to these people? They've already purchased from you before, and we all know that it's way easier to retain a customer than it is to acquire a new one. Plus, it's way cheaper. Reactivating even a small portion of this list is going to give you a much higher return than, again, trying to acquire the same amount of customers. All right. Then last but not least, we have recent purchasers. So how are you going to build this segment? I think this is probably one of the easiest segments to build in Omnisend, but you just want to add that they have placed an order at least one time in the last X amount of days. So for this example, I utilized 14 days. You can add optional product/category purchased if you want to have an effective follow-up cross-sell opportunity, but also, maybe you sell a product that, or you sell multiple products and one product could really complement the product that they purchased. Then you can add that product/category purchased. So when do you want to utilize this segment? Again, for those post-purchase educational automations, include care tips, include FAQs, include shipping information, but most importantly, please exclude them from your campaign sending. It is so annoying to purchase something and then the next day you get a 20% off coupon for that product that you just purchased. It's just so annoying to the customer, but it's also going to save your customer support. And maybe you are your customer support. It's going to save you time from receiving all of those emails. Hey, I just purchased this from you yesterday. Can I get a refund for that 20% off? And then also make sure if you are doing social ads that you exclude or use this segment to exclude. I just purchased a pretty expensive water filter. And did I make the mistake of purchasing it before Memorial Day? Yes. Okay, I take that one. That's my fault. But as soon as I purchased, the next day I was getting Instagram ads for the same exact water filter for 20% off. And I was like, are you kidding me? So please, please utilize this segment. So let's see, why do we want to exclude this list? Again, it's your highest emotional engagement point. They literally just purchased with you. So build their trust by lightening their post-purchase anxieties by nurturing them with those care tips, FAQs, and shipping information. But also make sure that you aren't sending that 20% off coupon after they literally just purchased with you. It's so annoying. And then also exclude them, like I said, from social media advertising. All right. So those are your 7 core segments. I'd be really interested to know how many of you already utilize these segments and how many of you have just heard about these segments for the first time. But I do have to share some honorary mentions just because I I just have to share them. All right, so why did I not include these in the 7 core? Because I think these are very specific to specific clients. I don't think everybody can utilize these, but I still wanted to share them. So the first one is your one-time purchasers. So this is a really great transition segment. You can use these to keep subscribers warm after their first purchase and try to target them to be a lifetime customer, that repeat customer. Next, I have location-based segmentation. This is really great for those localized sales or promotions. Maybe you're doing a pop-up shop or a warehouse sale in a specific location. Or you can go broad and do northern and southern hemisphere. So you can target based on the season that they currently in. Let's say that you sell flip-flops and it's winter in North America, but it's summer in South America. Now you can use that location-based segmentation to ensure that you're not sending sandal campaigns to people in North America where it's 10 degrees. Let's see. You could also do location-based sales. So I know, for example, Canada and Australia celebrate Boxing Day, or you can do other location-based holidays. But this helps keep your campaigns more relevant. And then lastly, I have product and category viewers. Contacts have viewed a certain product or a certain category. This is really great when you have too much inventory on hand and you really want to try to get it out the door as quickly as possible. Or when you're out of stock on a product, send a quick campaign to those who have viewed it while it was out of stock once you do get it back in stock. All right. Additional things to avoid and some tips. All right, so things to avoid. Applying too many filters or over segmenting. It's really easy to get carried away, especially when you're a data nerd like myself. You're so curious about your contact activity. Why do you want to avoid these? It's just a lot harder to scale and maintain and may result in tiny segments that just don't justify unique campaigns. Plus, it increases the complexity with very little gain. Next is segmenting without a purpose. I went over the how, when, and whys of all of these segments. Make sure that you are saying those exact things in your head whenever you're creating these segments. A lot of times we fall into assumption traps, we fall into vanity segmenting, thinking what we want our customers to behave, but they're not actually doing. So yeah, make sure that you're segmenting with a purpose. All right, next is most segments that are being built in Omnisend are truly dynamic, but make sure that you're not forgetting to update that segment logic once in a blue moon. Especially if you're creating any segments that utilize tags. Tags are static. So if you are doing anything different with tags, make sure that you are updating that segment logic. All right, and then last but not least, forgetting to exclude relevant segments or irrelevant segments, I'm sorry. Again, this is very similar to the recent purchaser segment that I was talking about. I'm probably just gonna annoy you with making sure that you're excluding irrelevant or relevant segments. Some additional tips. All right, same as last. Again, I'm just making sure that you exclude me specifically from receiving your discounted offers after I purchase from you. Exclude recent purchasers, those outside of location-specific promotions. Utilize those exclusions whenever you're sending campaigns. Next, use segments in forms for targeting purposes. Maybe you are doing a lot of targeting on Facebook and you want to see that those meta results play, but maybe you want to send different content to your Facebook audience versus your regular audience. You can actually segment in forms on Omnisend now to have one specific form pop up for a specific audience. Split by segments and automations. This one's really a good one and one that I actually see quite a bit from my personal clients. Again, maybe exclude the or I'm sorry, split by the purchaser and non-purchaser. Give them the more educational content, those non-purchasers, the more educational content in your abandoned cart and your abandoned checkout flows. You can, again, do location specific. Maybe you have free shipping in the US, but you don't have free shipping in other countries. Split by that location-based segment. Next, use segment reporting in Omnisend. This is a really great tool to utilize. Next, use and connect Facebook and Google to share data to your advertising strategies. And then I did actually want to share a screenshot of using segmentation and campaign reporting. This is what it looks like in Omnisend. So send to multiple segments, and you can see the open rate, the click rate, and the placed order rate of all of these segments. I think this is really interesting. I actually did have a quarterly business review with a client just yesterday, and their inactive segment was very broad, or their unengaged segment was very broad, and they were just like, I don't want to exclude anybody else, but I encourage them to use the segment performance whenever they are sending to that unengaged list, the 20% of time or less. Utilize those segments and see if there really is a difference in between the open rate, click rate, and revenue placed between those unengaged segments. But yeah, you can find this in your campaign reporting. Really good tool. All right. And then you can also use Omnisend AI to help. So I don't know how many of you guys have utilized Omnisend AI yet to help build segments, but now all merchants, not only Shopify, can create segments using natural language. We also extended the number of supported events and their properties, so 90% coverage based on existing segments. We also introduced a chat-like experience where the AI agent can ask clarifying questions to create a more accurate segment. This flow also includes a preview of a segment that allows quicker iteration. So no need to open the segment in the builder to see if AI actually understood your intentions. All right. So, with all of that being said, my experience of over 5 years of being a CSM, I keep coming back to these 7 core segments. So, this is what I want you guys to walk away with. You don't need 40 segments to be successful, just a handful of strategic ones that reflect where your customers are at in their journey. Start simple, align your messaging to each group, and iterate as you grow. The segments that I've discussed today are just that, very simple. They've worked with the hundreds of brands that I have worked with, again, in my 5 years of being with Omnisend. And remember, segmentation is what turns an email blast into an email strategy. Your list isn't just made up of contacts, we all know this. It's made of customers, and segments help you talk to them like they're actual people. All right, key takeaways. Start with strategy, not with filters. Segmentation should always align with your customer journey. Use segments in campaigns, automations, and in forms. Don't overcomplicate it. High impact segments can be simple and still drive really great results. Revisit your segments regularly, keep them dynamic, keep them timely, and keep them performance driven. And then last but not least, segmentation equals relevance, and relevance equals revenue. Perfect. All right, guys, that's all that I have to share today. So again, any questions that you guys have, please feel free to leave in the chat.
Sadie, thank you so much. The chat and the Q&A, it's heaving. So thank you, Ira and Vlad, for answering all the questions. We'll be able to pick a few up, and I know that we have a few of those in the slides. So we'll actually cover those in more generic way. But as we were talking about it, first of all, I was like just cheering because I was like, oh my God, like this is so good because everyone will get the recording, everyone will get the slides. So you guys can literally open this and go through what you have. And as Sadie said, like these are just outlines based on best practices adjusted to your business. Ask yourself, is this relevant? And if it's relevant, how can it be adjusted to your customers? And as you said, Sadie, don't segment for the customers that you want, or like that you really aspire to have, look at your actual data and then talk and adjust to those customers. So for me, that was like a really big takeaway. And also, please exclude us from your from your campaigns if you just purchase from you.
Can
I
you tell I'm
think
sour about that?
I had the same thing happen again and again. So I think just again, please exclude those people. I think until you get into a habit of that, maybe set yourself a reminder before campaigns. Because I was immediately thinking about Black Friday and all those big
Yeah,
events. And if you're
yeah,
not in the habit of excluding, then we're in trouble.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I have too many clients who forget to utilize that. And I have a lot of clients too who like to send those last chance campaigns, but they don't exclude recent purchasers who actually purchased within that time period. So these people are not going to open your campaigns. They're not going to click on your campaigns. And you might be a little disappointed by the revenue when you're sending to people who have already purchased during this promotional period. So yeah.
Absolutely. Um, there were so many nuggets. I think again, just reiterating that adjust it to your business is number one thing
Your
because you
competitors.
might be looking at all of these things and be like, oh my God, I need to have this, but do not overwhelm yourself with those. So
Yeah.
that's like the key takeaway for me. Let me just check the Q&A before we dive into the slides. Okay, just a reminder, guys. You will receive all the slides with the recording in a couple of days. So you'll get the recording, the slides, and all the resources that we shared in the chat. And then if you will have any questions after that, you can contact our support team as well, who are available 24/7. So we're here for you. So let's dive into the questions. These are based on some of the submissions that we had before the webinar happened. One question is, I'm a small business with a small list. Will segmenting even make a difference, or should I focus elsewhere? And before we, Sadie, jump into this question, can you define what is a small list in your opinion?
Oh, good one. I mean, I guess if your contact list is less than 5,000, I would maybe say that's a small list. And I refer to that because if I get a new client and they have a list of over 5,000, then you typically have to go through a warm-up process. So I think in my mind, that's why I have that vision. But I think if you have less than 5,000 contacts, then you could probably say that you've got a list on the smaller side. But again, just because it's a smaller list does not mean that you cannot utilize segmentation, especially the ones that I talked about today, for specific strategies. Again, like some of the whys that I discussed. So yeah, even if you're a small business, segmentation absolutely can help you create that more personalized experience that I talked about. And even too, if you have a small list, you are not excluded from contacts who are unengaged. It's just a simple fact. It's going to happen. So just make sure that you are looking at your most engaged segments. Make sure that you're looking at your unengaged segments, trying to re-engage them. All of these are very useful, even if you have a contact list of under 5,000 contacts.
Yeah, and what I would add as well is these are automated workflows, that we are
Mhm.
talking about, and the segments
Yeah.
that will be useful as we move along. So if you set this up, then you can focus on growing your business and growing that list because you will know your contacts are taken care of. So
Yep.
that would be my approach to this as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, I'm not saying that you have more time if you have a smaller list, because we all know that if you have a small business, you're probably the only person that's working on all of these strategies, plus your socials, plus your shipping, plus everything else. So I don't want to say that you have more time, but definitely, like Vi was saying, you want to utilize these now and they'll help you grow in the future. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go to the next slide.
Yep.
Okay, so can segmentation help improve my deliverability if I've been seeing low opens lately? And I
Absolutely.
think that relates to a lot of things that you already
Yeah.
said. But could you just like in one sentence also remind people what is their availability? And like if I send an email, like it's delivered, right?
Not necessarily, no. So deliverability just basically means the amount of emails that are actually ending up in the inbox versus the spam folder. So ISPs like Gmail, Yahoo, Hotmail, Microsoft, all of these different domains have these algorithms in the background that are trying to make the experience for their end customer, us who all own emails, they're trying to make that experience better. So they have these algorithms to look at engagement, to basically filter out any emails that they deem as spam. So if you're getting those really low engagement rates, you're probably already having some deliverability issues, and you want to use these segments, especially the engaged or the unengaged segments, to try and build a better reputation with those ISPs. Yeah.
Awesome. We also have a couple of webinars on the deliverability.
Yeah.
Fun word to say. So, Ira or Vlad, if you could share the links in the chat, that would be amazing. Okay, let's go to the next slide then. The third question. So, how often should I revisit or update my segments? Because again, we only covering seven, right? And then there's
Yeah.
other segments and their automation, there's just day-to-day business. So what would you recommend for those small to medium-sized businesses? How would you approach this?
Yeah, so obviously, like I was mentioning before, most of your segments in Omnisend are going to be dynamic. So there's not, a real need to revisit those segments very frequently. I would say at least once every 3 months or so, once every quarter, go in and revisit them. If you can do more often, that's great. That's fantastic. Especially if your customer journey kind of takes a turn. Maybe you're in that low season time, or you're in a high season time. Maybe you want to adjust some of the filters on there. But again, you want to be understanding why we're utilizing segments in the first place, what those segments are for, and then revisit those as needed.
I love how you said maybe your customer's journey has changed. Because I
Mhm.
think, again, as businesses, we want to grow. And as we do that, like from my experience, we might try some tactics or new things. We may be A/B testing and we understanding our customers better. So it's important once you get that data to go through what you already have and make sure you're still talking to those people,
Yep.
because, that might be outdated, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's what we're all trying to do here. At the end of the day, we're trying to understand our customers better, and yeah, that's why you want to utilize segmentation and A/B testing, to really understand what your customers are looking for.
Absolutely. And again, just going back to that thing that do not segment for the customers that you wish you had or for that vanity of like, oh, my customers must be these people. Like you have the data, so reflect on that data.
Yeah, yeah, and
Fantastic.
again,
Yeah.
utilize that segmentation reporting in Omnisend too. That'll tell you a lot about these specific segments.
Yeah. And also, as you've seen, we introduced the AI feature for segmentation. It's very fresh, very new, so you might have not received all the notifications about it. But after this webinar, go into your Omnisend dashboard, go into the audiences, and try it for yourself. Just play with it. Just do that. How would you would ask your team to create a segment, guys, those people who do this and that, and see what comes out of it. And as with any AI, keep in mind that's why Sadie was telling you specifically how to set up these segments so you can actually check what AI is putting out, and you're aware, not just blindly going into it. And we will, at the end of this month, we will have a webinar on quarter 2 featured drops where we will cover even more AI stuff that we just launched. So make sure you register for it. Just checking the chat and the Q&A box. Um, Ira, if you could confirm that all the questions have been answered, or we will follow up with those people if we haven't, as I'm looking at the time that we are about to wrap up. Um, Sadie, as we were talking again, like those segments that you shared, if I was just wanted to check and do an audit on my segments, or maybe if I was launching a business and implementing those segments, would you recommend going in that specific order as you were sharing?
No, actually, and I should have said that like these were not in any specific order. Again, I think all of these segments are essential and everyone can use them. That's why they're the seven core segments and not, my honorary mentions. But yeah, I mean, like I said, you can utilize these at any point and they help you again understand your customer and where they're at in their journey.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up now. A reminder for everyone, you will receive the slides, the resources that were mentioned in the chat. You will receive the recordings as well in a couple of days. And then if you have any questions after that, feel free to reach out to your customer support team that's available 24/7. And also check maybe your account is eligible for Customer Success Manager, and you might get to work with Sadie or one of our
Yeah.
other people on the team. So make sure you check that you get that. And yeah, thank you, Sadie, for this wonderful webinar and sharing your knowledge. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Such a good crowd. Everyone's chatting. So happy to see you. And I hope to see you soon again.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope I didn't bore you too much. But yeah, I'm really passionate about segmentation and helping out my clients and, really trying to get the most out of Omnisend that you can get. And I know segmentation can be kind of daunting. Like, where the heck do I even start? So hopefully this was impactful for you guys. And again, you can kind of take some of these segments and utilize them in your own ways.
Fantastic. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, guys.